I am the bird of Hermes, eating my own wings to keep myself tame.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to Hollows-ween, episode 10. Kouta Hirano's motherfucking Hellsing. Alright, so, this series, over the past couple years, has gained insane popularity, the likes of which that most animes that have been around this long has never really seen before. Traditionally, if an anime is pretty popular, it's going to be pretty popular when it's first released. That's just how it goes, like with Shingeki no Kyojin, with Attack on Titan. You know, the manga was released, in the past couple years, anime was made shortly after that, then you have this huge phenomenon. Now, you could argue the fact that maybe it was because of the anime of Shingeki no Kyojin, that's why everyone, as many people know about the manga as there are today, but aside from that fact, that's kind of a moot point. The manga and the anime are both insanely popular right now. Hellsing, on the other hand, is a different story. Hellsing began publication in Weekly Shonen Jump in the mid to late 90s, and over the course of just about under 100 chapters, I mean, the series really just had one continuous story arc. It really didn't have multiple ones or anything like that. Just Kouta Hirano walked in, he wrote it down, he illustrated it, he drew what he needed to draw, handed it in, gave us, like a 90-something chapters, like, here you go, that's all you're getting, I'm gonna walk away now, and boom, sheer gold was made, that's all you had to have. But despite the fact that when it first came out and was serialized, it did have a decent amount of popularity, but it didn't gain the same accolades as other manga that came out during that time period, like One Piece and Naruto, series that came on to be one of the most popular selling series of all of Japan. Hellsing didn't really get a bite of the cake there. But the fact remains is, it was a fairly popular series, and it did get an anime adaptation. Yes, in 2002, an anime adaptation was made consisting of 13 episodes. And it sucked! I do not recommend watching it at all. I had to sit through all of it, and let me just say, before I even get in the plot of the series, hardly any of the main characters make an appearance. The main villain in the manga does not make an appearance, nor do any of the enemies in that group make an appearance. They have to make up some completely different filler antagonist incognito bullshit. It's just, they just took the manga, they took the main character Alucard and like a handful of the other main characters, and they just went off on their own little filler tangent. I don't know why they chose to do that, but that's what we got. And for the longest time, that's all we got. That's the only anime adaptation that had. Up until 2000, that some guy somewhere in Japan, some guy who's the head of, I don't know, the massive corporation that's in charge of making anime. They have like a bunch of Japanese businessmen just sitting around at a very long table in a dimly lit room just being like, okay, gentlemen, what manga are going to be adapted into anime tonight? Well, this one guy who was a big shot, he read the Hellsing manga, and he's thinking, oh man, this is pretty cool. I'm surprised this isn't such a big deal. I should make an anime adaptation out of this. Oh wait, there already is an anime adaptation? Alright. So he starts watching it, and he discovers the horrible, butt screw that it did, and then he walked in there Monday morning, threw his hands on the table, and he's like, okay, whatever you guys are talking about, it's off the table. We are making another Hellsing anime, and we're gonna try to make it not suck a million vampire dicks this time. Who's with me? Shut up, we're doing it anyway, get to work. And then that's where we got the beautiful Hellsing Ultimate OVA. But I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, aren't I? Alright, let's go into the plot of this majestic, sinful, satanic series. Alright, so the plot starts off with the Hellsing organization. The Hellsing organization was started by Van Helsing in the late 1800s. And before you even question, no, it has nothing to do with Peter Cushing. Although, I always loved the character of Victor von Helsing, just for the fact that he has an awesome last name. I would sell my soul to the devil to have that awesome last name. Oh wait, shit, I already did that, crap. Anyway, though, despite not being Peter Cushing, Van Helsing is still a pretty badass vampire hunter and starts up this organization to kind of save Great Britain and God save the Queen from all these vicious monsters and ghoulies. Flash forward about 100 years later to the family's heir, Integra Fairbrook Wingate Helsing. In case you were curious, yes, she is British. So her father, Arthur Helsing, is on his deathbed, and while his brother Richard is supposed to maintain the entire Helsing lineage, he instead passes on his title as head of the family to Integra, who's only about 12 years old at the time. Richard takes a little bit of exception to this and is pissed off right proper, as he goes and basically just tries to murder his young niece because, hey, that's how it works, right? If you kill the heir to the family, the person that killed her instantly becomes the next head of the family. That's how that works, right? In the process of trying to escape her deranged uncle, she manages to come across a chamber in the Helsing Manor that contains Alucard, the king of all vampires. Alucard is Dracula spelled backwards, okay? Just thought I had to mention that in case you weren't curious. If you never saw Son of Dracula, beautiful films. It's in black and white, but you know, some of the best movies are made black and white, so go and check it out if you haven't. That's the origin of Alucard. Okay, just making sure you got that. Okay, back to the story. Alright. Awakens the vampire king known as Alucard, which, if you pardon the vernacular, makes quick work of King Richard and all of his men. Now, the reason Alucard was down there to begin with is because he's kind of been the secret weapon of the Helsing family for generations, and he was kept in this corpse-like state because he hasn't drank blood for 20 years. He kind of only shows up when the family really needs him. But in the process of Richard shooting Integra and the blood getting on Alucard, he is resurrected. Alucard will now serve Integra dutifully and obey her every whim. So basically, Alucard is one hell of a butler. Oh wait, no, that's not the case. Walter C. Dornace is one hell of the butler. He is basically the assistant to the Helsing family and pretty much handles all the day-to-day tasks, as well as manufacturing the weapons for the main group. His ability is able to summon these microfilament wires from his hands, which he's able to cut and slice things and grab things from a great distance. How can he use these things? You know, usually I would fawn over this and nitpick the shit out of this character, but you know, the way he's just so cool that I don't care. This is one of the occasions where a character has a power that you just have to pass off as it's magic, and I'm fine with that. Okay, it's magic. Great. He has so many characters in this series, practically every one of the main characters, even some of the side characters, have such an interesting background and history to them. I don't really care, you know, where they are now or how they got these powers. The fact remains, they're interesting as hell to listen to and watch, so I'm just going to follow in their footsteps and just blindly like, okay, you're cool, I don't care where your power comes from. So that's really the setup for the series before the first episode. Now, when it comes to the first episode of the plot, Alucard is in combat with this kind of vampire priest that took over this entire town. In the process, there was a police girl named Ceres Victoria that was kidnapped by the vampire with the intent of raping her. See, basically, in the context of Helsing, if you get bitten by a vampire of the opposite gender and you're a virgin, you become another vampire. However, if you get bitten and you're not a virgin, well, you basically become a ghoul, which is essentially a zombie, and you're basically enslaved to your host vampire, and when their host vampire dies, you die as well. Kind of a sucky existence, but hey, if you just want any kind of promotion for safe sex, you know, just hey, if you become a deflowered man or woman, then you can't become a vampire. You're literally barred from that for all existence. So, you know, guys, if you want to ever become a vampire and slave to the night, better wrap it. Better. Serious. So going along with that theme and Alucard being freaking Alucard, he just blasts a bullet right through freaking Ceres Victoria's ample chest, going directly through her, piercing the vampire priest, and killing him dead instantly. Of course, Ceres is about to die as well, but Alucard just bites her, and she chooses in the end of the day. He asks her, you know, what do you want to do? And, you know, she basically says, well, I don't want to die, of course. So Alucard bites her, and she becomes a vampire, leading into basically the whole setup of the series. So, in terms of a main villain, we have this organization known as Millennium. Millennium is the Lastobitalion, basically the Nazis, essentially. Yeah, the Nazis are literally vampires and zombies in the Hellsing universe. So, COD, sorry, it kind of got late to the party there, but that doesn't make it the fact that they're just fodder that you can just kill with a pistol with 6 shots. These guys are freaking badass. They have the higher echelon of the group that's all organized by German ranks. The major is the leader of it, then the captain, then the first lieutenants, and then just like the fodder after that. The major himself, the leader of Millennium, can actually be characterized as basically a war god. We're not talking about a guy that just likes to be in combat. We're talking about a guy that loves to just, he's like a schoolboy in a candy shop. That is the major. In fact, there was so much speculation before the manga series ended that the Major was actually going to turn out to be like a physical form of Mars or some kind of war god, like legitly, because of how much he loves it. You know, there's even a scene where all this horrible destruction's going on, people are being burned to death, babies are being eaten by friggin' vampires, and he's just sitting up there in his blimp actually conducting the madness, just standing up there like a freaking conductor, like Beethoven, and just being like, So, I wouldn't call the Major insane, I would just call him basically a war god at the end of the day. That is what he represents. And their goal is essentially just to wage war against jolly old England and take out Alucard, because his whole plan is actually really well thought out, but I'm getting way, I don't want to go into more like that. As I stated, the entire series is relatively short. It was only condensed into 90-something chapters and 10 OVAs that ran an hour long each. So I don't want to go any more than that, because the series, I kind of already gave away a little minor spoilers here. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the other group, which is the Vatican. Yeah, they also bring the Catholics in on this, you know, because the whole thing with England is that it's full of Protestants, and of course the Catholics don't really get along with the Protestants, oh, so I've heard. So, yeah, they have their own little elite troop called the Iscariot Organization, named after Judas Iscariot. In case you were curious what Judas' last name was, you know, the one that betrayed Jesus, you know, he's like, I will betray you, you know, that kind of dude. Yeah, his last name was Iscariot, I know, crazy, right? Anyway, so yeah, they have an organization which is pretty much like the badass religious elite super soldiers. None more awesome than Alexander Anderson, which basically has a never-ending score of bayonets at his disposal that were wholly blessed. All of his magical powers center around, you know, citing Bible verses, throwing up Bible pages as a barrier, you know, piercing freaking zombies to death with these wholly blessed bayonet swords, and he's basically nigh indestructible. So yeah, pretty cool character there. So yeah, that's that. I'm going to stop right there. I'm not going to go any further in the plot of the series, but I am going to cite the 3 reasons why I think Hellsing is so popular as it is right now. The first reason, of course, is the OVA, but it's not just the OVA, it's the fact that the OVA was done right. Hellsing Ultimate is not just a direct adaptation to the manga. Like, it's kind of like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood in that regard, whereas you had one anime that kind of deviated into the filler territory, then it came back with just one that's just strictly manga. Hellsing Ultimate's like that, except it adds so much more. Of course, when you have an anime, you're going to have better music, you're going to have voice acting, some like stuff that you can't even touch upon in the realm of manga. But the fact of the matter is, the Hellsing OVA did practically everything right. The music is a perfect fit. The way it is animated is a perfect fit. As I've stated, it is a, you know, each episode runs about an hour long, and the fact remains, it took them almost 6 years to get done, actually almost 7 years to get done with the entire series. The OVA started in 2006, February of 2006, and it just recently ended in December of 2012, last year. Yeah, almost 7 years. And, you know, it took several months in between each episode, maybe even a year or so in between each episode, but it didn't really matter that much because it was done well. So if you want to take your time and, you know, make something amazing with incredible animation, throw in some little CG in there, throw in amazing voice talents, throw in amazing music, throw in, you know, homages to, you know, other cultures, which I love when animes do that. I love when animes go beyond the simple Japanese culture, which I love Japanese culture, you know, I'm trying to learn more about it, I'm even trying to speak the language a little bit, but when it comes to anime, I like to see a little bit more diversity than that. I'm not saying that every anime has to be like that, but when anime is taking an advantage, like when a Japanese anime is taking the initiative to show, you know, different cultures in Britain and Germany, and, you know, trying to get it as right as possible, and the fact of the matter they did with Hellsing, it works a lot. So that's the one factor, is just the superb Japanese OVA. The second factor is the English dub of said OVA. Now this is sort of like an argument that's always going to be around. What is better, the Japanese version of an anime or the English dub of said anime? And of course it varies depending on which anime you're talking about, but there's always going to be that argument. You're like, oh, I think the English dub is better. Oh, are you freaking crazy? You guys don't know anything about anime. It's Japanese better's better all the way, man. You just don't like to read subtitles. The most you can get to when you're arguing with someone about this, if it's actually worth arguing, the most you're going to get out of somebody is, it's okay, it's not better, but at least is on the same level as the Japanese anime. No, I will tell you right now, and I don't care what you say about this, I don't care about the opinions on this, I don't care about the trolls, because I've talked to other people about this on the anime community, on the forums. The English dub does not just meet the expectations of the Japanese OVA, it does it better. Now, don't get me wrong, everything I just said about the Japanese OVA, about the amazing music, the amazing voice talents, the amazing, the feel of the series, that all still stands. It's like if the original Japanese OVA was a cake, and this cake was made with the finest of ingredients, baked fresh by the finest, like a team of the finest chefs you could find, and they make this beautiful cake that taking a bite into it feels like a cherub came down from heaven and kissed you on the cheek and sang oh so gaily, and you just feel so happy when you eat it. So that's the Japanese OVA. The English dub added the icing and the toppings, and then when you bite into it, you have 5 cherubs come down and sing oh so gaily that, oh, it's so amazing. Yes, that is what you get with the English dub, okay? Because no offense to Japanese culture, no offense, but if I'm going to pick a culture that knows more about Great Britain, aside from, British culture, of course, and I had a choice between Japanese and American, I'd say Americans maybe just know a little bit more. There's probably a lot of British people watching this episode right now that are probably laughing at me hysterically, like, oh, you Yanks don't know anything about over here. You don't know freaking shit. You just go back to eating your McDonald's or whatever. It's like, yes, we will. You go back to eating your fish and chips, which, by the way, the other day I just found out were not actually chips. You freaking liars. Just call them French fries like everyone else. So, you get that. And I even watch the commentaries from the English dub, and I don't even watch commentaries. If I want to know about how something was made, or, why they chose who they chose for the voice actors and everything, if I want to know about that, I will just, go on a wikia or something like that. But no, I love Hellsing so much, I actually, watch the 200 included minutes of commentary on all the episodes. And basically what I got is the guy that was in charge of like the voice directing and everything, he's just like, I love the Japanese, but they don't know guns. So we had to add in all these different gun effects at the time period, like the type of guns that they use depending, like Rip Van Winkle uses a musket, so they had to tweak the musket shot, of course. And another thing they did, which is it just adds more realism here, is the use of German phrases. Now, the Japanese had German phrases, even the original manga had German phrases thrown in. Your enemy are Nazis, so of course, you don't want to have them speak nothing but German because that's more complicated, and that would cause more difficulties for translations and everything like that. But you at least want them to have a German accent and at least speak some German. In the Japanese, they primarily just spoke Japanese. So let me give you a perfect example of this, okay? Like how the English dub did it better. Okay, so in OVA 4, one of the first lieutenants of Millennium is dying by the hands of Alucard, and all the other members of Millennium are watching it on a screen. So the Major stands up and he's watching the death of one of his officers, and he basically just salutes her and says, I will see you in Valhalla, First Lieutenant. And they all proceed in the Japanese version to say sayonara, which means goodbye. So they all stand up and chant sayonara, 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 goodbye. In the English version, they say the correct German word for goodbye, which is auf Wiedersehen. So it's just little tidbits like that. When you watch the Japanese version and all these Nazis are shouting sayonara, 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 it's just a little bit disconcerting. Whereas in the English dub, they're all like auf Wiedersehen, auf Wiedersehen, auf Wiedersehen. That stuff gives a little bit more touch of realism. So I'm not going to say that the Japanese version sucks because they don't have a bunch of people that know German that they just threw in there. I'm just saying, really it just comes down to the fact that English dubbing companies such as Funimation and Viz have many more people that are available for this. There's other animes such as Black Butler that throw in people that have, Americans can do good British accents for the most part. I usually meet people that can do a British accent pretty damn well. It's just me that can't. I don't know why. I can never get one. It's just, yeah, how about we pop down to the pub for pint of Guinness? Was that Scott? I don't even know what I'm doing. I suck, okay? I'm sorry. So that's the second reason why the series is so popular right now. The third reason is Takahata 101 and Team 4 Stars Hellsing Ultimate Abridged series. As far as Abridged series go, and I have seen Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, I have seen Dragon Ball Z Abridged, I've seen Death Note Abridged, I've seen Code Geass Abridged, I've seen One Piece. Out of all of those, none of them made me laugh quite as hard and have as much rewatch value as the Hellsing Ultimate Abridged series. If you have not seen this, please go and watch it. You will die laughing. I mean, even before I watched the series of Hellsing, I watched the Ultimate Abridged series, and that got me into it. And, you know, I'm watching the Abridged, and I'm thinking, wow, this is hilarious, but the real series probably isn't going to be this amazing. Yeah, the real series is that amazing. It's like everything this OVA touches becomes sheer gold. You know, I know I kind of seem like I'm up here, like, blowing smoke up its ass, but it really is that good. You know, I would not lie to you guys, you know? Look at this! I freaking drew a freaking 5-pointed star. You know the questions I have to answer about this? You know? When my mom walks into my room and I'm drawing this on my hand and I have to explain why her son is drawing a satanic symbol with all these weird lettering around it, you know, I have to explain how I'm not a Satanist. You know I love this damn series, alright? So, the Abridged series, though, does something that I love with the Abridged series, and then it keeps the original plot around. You know, other series just kind of maybe deviate and do their own little thing because, you know, they're like, well, they're the ones dubbing it, they have free control over it, so they can change the plot around to whatever they think is the most funny. But I love the series the most that keep the same plot, like with DBZ Abridged. It's humor, and they add in, you know, all their other little stuff on the top, but the main plot is still the same. You still had Frieza, you still have Cell, and all that stuff. Hellsing's the same way. Same plot's the same, Millennium's still the villain, the heroes are still the heroes, it's just, it's really just a more comedic element, or they're put in another dark light. And most of the humor in Hellsing Ultimate stems from actual dialogue or actual things from the Hellsing Ultimate OVA that they just kind of distorted around or just heightened a little bit more. Okay, you know what? Screw it. I don't care. Top 5, Tekking101's Top 5 Hellsing Ultimate Abridged Moments, go! Number 5.
That was a 70-inch plasma screen TV. So, how can I help you?
Number 4.
Over the last couple of years, he has sent no less than 400 death threats to the Pope. By carrier pigeon, no less. They just fly right into the Vatican. The latest one read as such. Dear Chief
Replacement, I wanted to send you this friendly little letter to inform you of your imminent demise. If you're curious about the frequency of which I've sent these letters, it is merely to instill as much fear as I can, as if basting a turkey, which I will then proceed to have sex with. That's right, I'm going to fuck the fear turkey. Follow me on Twitter at @TheCrimsonFucker.
Number 3.
Well, now that that's over, how about we go back to my place for a bowl of my favourite cereal, Frankenbit?
Oh, son of a Protestant whore!
Well, you know what time it is.
Number 2.
Now you're going to tell me everything I want to know.
Alright. What you do is you go down to the local pharmacy, ask for something called Viagra, and it'll help you go fuck yourself!
And the number 1 best Hellsing Ultimate Abridged moment is...
So I was just chillaxing in my room like a baller, and then all of a sudden these schmucks kicked in my door. One of them yelled out, "Get on your knees!" And I responded with, "I'm not your mother last night!" And they took exception to that. But you know how that song and dance goes. And I killed all but one of them.
What happened to the last one?
Pussed out like a bitch.
Funny stuff. So yeah, go check them out. Go check out the OVA, of course. Anything less to say is really just about the main character of Alucard, who I kind of have not really talked about for the main part of this video. And that's basically because Alucard's powers in it itself are spoilers. I can't really tell you what he's capable of. I can tell you he wields these 2 awesome guns, one of which has the potential to blow up an entire room. Keep in mind, it's a fucking pistol. I mean, like normal people, this is how normal people fire a gun. Okay? This is how Alucard fires a gun. Jesus Christ in heaven, that was awesome. So yeah, Alucard's character beyond that, no, kind of gets into spoiler territory. He does have the ability called the Cromwell Invocation, which is enabling him to go into different stages, but I can't even really go that far into that. as for the Gorometer rating, like, once again, I mean, we're getting up to the point in the series where everyone's going to pretty much have a level 5 Kratos level. Maybe more for the fact that, you know, as I stated, the major god of war is actually maybe Kratos in this series. But basically, with the Hellsing series, this is the kind of series where if somebody gets shot or stabbed or bit or has their face crushed into a wall, like 18 gallons of blood will spurt out from the wound. Like, you could get a paper cut in this universe and it would just be like Old Faithful, like, you know. So holy copious amounts of blood in this series, and the blood is done well. The blood is not done in such a comedic way, like there's blood everywhere, so it's not that impactful. The way the blood is animated, and some of it's CG, but the way it's animated, the way it splatters on the characters and the walls, gives a nice bouquet of death. So yeah, level 5 Kratos, and I might as well put the Major as the freaking God of War, because yeah, that's the major level bloodbath. Yeah, that kind of level. Yeah, Alucard's pretty beast. Pretty cool. Wait a second. Alucard. Okay, Alucard, wait. There's something familiar here. He wears, okay, red trench coat, black gun, and a white gun. He is seen by many people as a demon, or something that comes from hell, and he has special abilities that are enabling him to increase his overall stamina and demonic power. Holy shit! Well, at least I know what's next.